Welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in again to another Snooker Shoe Skills and Drills interview dedicated to the name, the legacy of Dr. Moses Powell and Snooker Shoe Ju Jitsu. Today we have a very, very, very special guest, the inheritor of the arnis Ju Jitsu, Grand Professor V's Choice, Grandmaster David James. Today he's going to share with us some of the history, some of the teachings of Grand Professor V. He's going to share with us his beginnings, his trials and his tribulations, what he went through when Professor V handed the system over to him, and give us some great history and some stories about Dr. Moses Powell and some of the other masters in our family of Jiu-Jitsu, which includes V arnis Jiu-Jitsu and Snooker Shoe Jiu-Jitsu. Well, thank you, sir,
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Thank you very much.
So, my first question basically is, how did you get started in the martial arts? How did you just tell us your beginning. How did it happen?
Well, the first thing that I would like to say, first of all, thank you. And I also would like to say everything that I do, everywhere I go, every seminar I teach, I always let people know that I represent Professor for Random Visitation.
Yes,
I represent Professor V. Okay? The way I got started in the martial arts, it was like everybody else, basically, who was in dues with, Kato, the Green Hornet, martial arts,
Yes, sir.
Martial art kung fu movies. And then I wanted to study martial arts, but my family was very religious. So they did not think that was wise to do because it involved, in their eyes, violence and fighting.
Yes, sir.
So what happened was, we just forbidden to do it. There used to be a dojo across the street from where I lived, a gentleman by the name of Archie Rowland, who used to hold tournaments at Bishop Ford High School back in the 70s. So I used to sneak across to his dojo while I was delivering groceries. I was supposed to be at my little job,
Yes, sir.
delivering groceries, and I hit a gi in a friend of mine's house, and I would go take a class for an hour and then go back and deliver groceries, and that's how I started.
Yes, sir.
That was my first, touch to martial art.
Yes, sir.
My mom found out because the lady who owned the laundromat was a friend of hers, and she went in there and said, your son does really well in martial arts.
Exposed you, huh?
Yeah, and she basically gave me up.
Yes, sir.
And then when I went home, and she was telling the lady, my son don't do karate. Yes, sir. Because her son went to the school, and it was an inner dojo, like tournament type of class, and I did win.
Right.
And so she exposed me, and
Yes,
I got
sir.
punished for not doing it. And then my mom told my dad, well, look, no harm came to it. The boy's been doing it. Let him continue.
Very good.
And then, so I started that way. But my serious journey into the martial arts was when I sought out Professor Rico Guy.
Yes, sir.
And it's an interesting story the way that came about.
Okay.
If you have the time, I would like to tell you.
Sure. I know Grandmaster Rico Guy.
And he just passed during
Yes.
the COVID thing.
Right.
And that was my really first instructor.
Yes, sir.
Okay? But I came to him by accident. And the reason why is I was looking for a school at the time. So like everybody else, and this also was my first exposure to Doc Powell.
Yes, sir.
Okay? What do? You get all the martial arts magazines, your martial arts enthusiast, so you buy the magazines. I'm looking in the magazines, I see Professor Ronald Duncan.
Yes, sir.
Okay? I see at the time, Grandmaster Moses Powell. There wasn't Grandmaster at the time,
Right.
but, I see Grandmaster Moses Powell. And also, of course, the Black Dragon, Ron Van Cleef. And so I'm like, okay, I want to go or I'm going to go to everybody's dojo and make a decision
Yes, sir.
who I want to study with.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was, first person I went to was Professor Duncan.
Yes, sir.
He was not taking people in at the time.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
Because he had a very private thing going on.
Yes, sir.
And if it wasn't invitational only,
Yes, sir.
you wasn't getting, he wasn't just taking
okay.
people
That's
off the street.
That's interesting. Yes,
He
sir.
was not taking people off
Yes,
the
sir.
street.
Yes, sir.
You know, because at the time, it was around the time when his wife had passed, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't know that at the time.
Yes, sir.
But, you know, he just kind of just worked with the students he had.
Yes, sir.
So then I went to seek out Ron Van Cleef.
Yes, sir.
So now, Ron Van Cleef, for those people who would remember this, he used to work out of the back of a gym on 2nd Avenue and 13th Street, a weightlifting gym.
Yes, sir.
He had a school in the back. So I went there a few times to go look at his classes. And while I'm looking at his classes, I just kept going back
Yes, sir.
to see his classes. And he got pissed off at me for just coming and looking. Literally in the middle of a session, he's teaching class. I'm sitting on the edge of my chair like this. I'm watching. He gets up. He goes, "You get up, get up." And I just shocked. You gotta understand, I'm just a young guy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, get up. You came here to steal. Get up.
Right.
Come here again. I'll break you up. And I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" And literally, he literally threw me out. We laugh about it now.
Right,
We
right.
laugh
Yes,
about
sir.
it
Yes,
now.
sir.
You know,
Yes, sir.
when we see each, you know, when we often see each other. But he threw me out of his program.
Yes, sir.
You know,
Yes,
before
sir.
I made a decision.
Right.
And then, so now you have Nisei Goju, and I'm looking in the magazines, and in Nisei Goju, you know, we had guys that came out in Nisei Goju, which is Ron Van Cleef. You know,
Yes, sir.
you remember at the time, you know, Professor Rico Guy,
Yes, sir.
Ron Taganashi. Okay, you had Takazuru,
Yes, sir.
all came out of Nisei.
Yes, sir. That's
Okay,
right.
out of Frank Woods dojo.
That's good history, though.
A very good history.
Yes, yes.
Professor Rodin, Wilfredo Rodin, who also passed away recently. And I said, okay, well, next step is Professor Rico Guy,
Yes, sir.
who was a professor at the time, but you know, Rico Guy.
Yes, sir.
Went there, we hit it off, and I started training. And that's how I started training. I always worked extremely hard. He took to me, and then he had an instructor by the name of Doc Williams. And Doc was legendary for his workouts, and people would literally look in the door as Doc teaching, and certain people wouldn't hang because he was that,
Yes,
you know,
sir.
that aggressive
Yes, sir.
in his training. So Shion Howard, who's right there, Master Ron Howard, Shion Howard was also a student of black belt at the time with Sensei Donnie Collins, who was also there working out with Professor Rico Guy. And they took to me because I used to work hard.
Yes, sir.
So I was the only one of the few people with me, Angel, another gentleman by the name of Leroy, that when Doc was teaching, would participate in his class. And everybody, literally everybody else, would just, once Rico turned the class over to him, people wouldn't train.
Right, right. Too intense.
Way too intense.
Yes, sir.
Way too intense.
Yes, sir.
So they took a liking to me because of I was willing to participate.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And then Professor was teaching at the time on Remsen Street, just on the weekends, Professor B.
Yes, sir.
And Shion Howard was the one who brought me down, said, "You like to train, let me take you somewhere." Because I was 7 days a week, I was on 7 days a week.
Yes, sir.
He said, "Let me take you somewhere, you know, come with us." And they took me down, and that's how I met Professor B.
Now, was Shion Howard also training with Professor V at the time, or he just
Shion
thought
Howard
you
was
would
training.
work out there?
Shion Howard was training with Professor Rico Guy, and on the weekends, all going down to Professor V.
Wow.
Because Professor V had an open class for black belts.
Yes, sir.
And that's where I met. At the time, they don't remember me. They, you know, I was just a kid. I was in the back of the room.
Yes, sir.
But that's when I met Naosuke Little John. Okay, Dr. Moses Powell had just left New York.
Yes, sir.
He just left New York, so I missed him, right? But when he came back, we did get acquainted afterward.
Yes, sir.
So then I met Little John, Master Little John Davis, Lou Ferrer, Pop Edwards, Danny Paulo, Jonathan Stewart, and a bunch of other, everyone who was everyone in Jiu-Jitsu
Yes, sir.
was there at the time.
Yes, sir.
Because that's what, you know, they all were coming out of the Professor
Yes,
V.
sir.
And that continued. And what I did was, every weekend, I trained with Professor V and Rico Guy during the week, 7 days a week.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And that's how it was. That's how I got started with Professor V.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. You said that you were known for hard training and you love the rigorous training. And they took a liking to you.
Yes.
So they turned you over to Professor V. How was the training and how was the structure of the class with Grand Professor V? Was it just as rigorous as what you came from? Just give us an idea of how it was to be in the classroom with Grand Professor V.
I have to take a step back.
Yes, sir.
The reason why I trained so hard was because I got beat up violently, near death.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
And I went seeking a good instructor in martial arts because I never wanted that to happen again.
Yes, sir. That's right.
So I said, I really wanted to, and I was super motivated.
Yes, sir.
So I trained like crazy.
Yes, sir.
When I used to go home, my own family would go, what the hell are you training for? Some kind of war? Because I would train in the dojo 7 days a week,
Right.
go home and train again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
But what happened to me, I said, that ain't never happening again.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
I
sir.
made some bad mistakes, I had bad information, and I said that never happened to me again.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Also, that's also one of the things that made me gravitate to Ju Jitsu. Because what happened, to make a long story short, was I was doing the Goju Karate.
Yes, sir.
Professor Rico guy had an accident. He was a locksmith by trade. He had fell off, I think, the ladder, hurt his back.
Yes, sir.
When he hurt his back, because of the way I love training, he was the one who actually said to me, you know, you need to go to visitation because he wasn't able to train the way he was able to train
Because of the injury.
because of the injury.
Yes, sir.
So he said, he pushed me toward Professor V. And what happened was, I was in an elevator, and this guy tried to mug me in an elevator. Now, one of them old elevators that were 4x6, the door closed, another door closed, and that was it.
Double door, yes, sir.
Right, double door, 6 flights up, you know? So this dude walks in, bodybuilder type guy, muscular. I always had good stamina because I used to run track and field long distance.
Yes, sir.
So I used to run 10 miles for practice every day.
Yes, sir.
So what happened was, he put me in this elevator, I went in this elevator, I didn't see nobody. Next thing you know, before the second door closed, boom, guy comes in and smack, hits the top floor, and it's on. He turned around and just blasted me against the wall.
Yes, sir.
Boom, 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 boom. Now you gotta remember, I'm Goju Karate. I'm training hard,
Yes, sir.
real hard,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
real hard,
Yes, sir.
okay? My karate was useless,
Why do you say it was useless?
absolutely useless.
I mean, just explain. Because
I
hear
explained
this
to
a
you
lot.
because it was close quarter.
Got you. That's what
I
want you to
was
say.
training, I thought I was training to learn how to fight
Yes,
in
sir.
karate, which I was.
Right.
Kamite, you know, hitting maki water, hands on, you know, getting my hands all callous,
Yes, sir.
you know, doing Yugonai maki water, training hard, working out hard,
Yes, sir.
ready to spar hard. I'm training with Doc Williams and the rest of these guys that, you know, they were no joke.
Yes, sir.
You know, you have to earn your right to be there.
Absolutely.
And what happened was, in that elevator, there was no down block, middle block, reverse punt, front kick, side kick. This dude was grabbing me and bouncing me repeatedly off of the wall and punching me.
Yes, sir.
So there was no time or space for me to do the things that I learned to do. So I went back. I got out of there because of one thing and one thing only: stamina.
Yes, sir.
And I used to box, play box, a little bit of boxing, you know, wrestling. I was no real skill street stuff.
Yes, sir.
And because of that knowledge and my stamina is what made me get out of that situation. Because the guy literally got tired
Right.
of
right,
trying
right.
to beat me.
Got you.
So when, you know the old saying, when you stop giving, it's time for you to get?
Yes, sir. Teach.
I learned how to block well and protect myself well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Then, when he started huffing and puffing, then I just started
Your turn.
throwing and blowing.
Yeah.
But it was not because I was some skillful guy.
Right. Understood.
He just burned this stuff out.
Yes, sir. Got you.
Okay?
Okay.
And so what happened was, I went back to Professor Rico Guy, and I said, Professor, I said, you know, this is what happened. And he said, oh, that's because that's close quarter. That's not karate, it's fighting, it's sparring.
Right.
He goes, that's Ju Jitsu.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And that's when I started to do my homework and realize that all the great masters in the founders back in the day, you know, Oyama, they all knew close quarter, Ju Jitsu,
sir.
and judo.
That's correct. Good history.
All of them.
Yes, absolutely. That's right.
But they don't tell you that when
They
you
don't
walk
tell
through
you,
that when you walk through the door. So I went through the door thinking I'm learning street stuff,
Right.
but that wasn't what I was learning.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions here.
Ask me anything you want.
So briefly, just give us an example. Talk about how Professor V's class was structured, and I'm sure, like you said, you're in the elevator, and the guy's this close to you. So you turn and it's empty. You go up, it's empty, and that's how you deal with it. So tell us how Professor V started to groom you with close quarter self-defense.
Well, what happened was when I went after, that's when Sheldon Howard said, "Come with me," actually, and took me down. He said, "You need to see this," and that's when I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is what I'm looking for here.
Yes, sir.
This is what I want.
Yes, sir.
Stuff that would actually I could actually use."
Yes, sir.
I wasn't worried about fighting. I didn't want to fight nobody. I wanted to hurt you, and I wanted to come out on top
Yes,
after
sir.
I hurt you and leave.
So Professor V was in the hurt business.
So Professor V, when I seen what he was doing, it blew my mind because he's using different parts of the body
Right.
that we wasn't using.
Right.
And what I noticed was what he was doing, he wasn't letting anything pass him. What I mean by that is he was striking from the closest point,
Yes,
not
sir.
from the furthest point.
Right.
He was using techniques the whole entire body. He was doing joint locks where we learned none of that. So I said, "Oh, okay, this is what I want." Now here's a funny story. After I made that decision, I looked at Professor V and I told him, that day, I'm signing up, I'm a lifer.
Right.
That day,
A lifer.
I said, "I'm a lifer." He laughed in my face. If you know Professor V, he laughed and said, okay. He goes, "You come back next week, I'll see you." You know, he always gave me that little touch and
Yes,
said,
sir.
"You
Yes,
come
sir.
back
Yes,
next
sir.
week, I'll
Yes,
see
sir.
you."
Yes.
And he thought I was joking. And then right after that, I had a motorcycle accident.
Oh, you ride a motorcycle?
I had a motorcycle accident, and at that time I broke my leg in 5 places, and they told me, "You'll never do martial arts again."
Wow.
And I literally took me 1 year from being in the hospital, rehabbing, cast, below the knee, above the knee,
Yes, sir.
a little bit above the knee, below the knee. I got back on the motorcycle once I could bend my knee, just out of to keep the fear away.
Yes, sir.
And I went to Professor Rico Guy's class on crutches. He told me, "Good to see you," because nobody seen me for 8 months, 6, 7, 8 months. "Sit down, watch the class." And I used to travel from my house at the time on train to the dojo just to go watch class. Okay, 3, 4 times a week.
Yes, sir.
When I went to Professor V's class, I went to sit down. He told me, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm coming to watch, sir." He said, "How did you get here?" I said, "I took the train." He said, "How are you going to get home?" I said, "I'm taking the train." He said, "Well, you got to learn how to work there because you look like a victim to me."
Right.
So he taught me
Wow.
how to work with the crutches,
Yes, sir.
on crutches,
Yes, sir.
showed me techniques, close quarter. When I went to go Jew, they told me to have a seat.
Got you.
I couldn't reverse
Understood.
punch, kick.
In other words, whatever your condition is, we're going to teach you from your condition, and you're going to be.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And that's when I said, "Bang." Boom.
You know, it's interesting, and I'm not going to turn this martial arts interview into a motorcycle interview, but I ride a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And last year, I had an accident and hurt my hip, hurt my shoulder, and my ankle. And the biggest thing for me, and I heard you say, when you were able to bend your knee, you got back on to overcome the fear.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I had to do.
Yes,
Because
sir.
every time I got on the bike, if I saw a car moving towards me, that fear jumped in,
Jumped
but I
right
had to
back in.
overcome it.
Yeah.
And the martial arts is that. When you first come into the art, you got a lot of fear because you're dealing with people that's trying to take you out.
Constantly.
And that's interesting to know. So now I know we not only do we share a name, James, now we motorcycle.
Sure.
Okay. So Professor V told you that you look like a victim, so I have to train you so you can survive this train ride.
Yes, sir.
Bush, very good. Okay.
And
All
then,
right.
and then
Go ahead.
after that, and that's when we started to train, and then Professor V retired, And that's when I went with, out of that group who was there, who was training every Saturday, I then made a decision because Professor V had semi-retired.
Right.
So then I went with Lou Ferrer, Professor Lou Ferrer, we've known Professor Lou after that. The Little John was up in I think up in Harlem. Pop and Cabo was up in the Bronx. Professor Danny Paulo was in Long Island City. So I went with Lou Ferrer, who was in Brooklyn. And that's where I started my jiu-jitsu. Like after Professor, I started with Professor V. Professor V retired. I stayed with Lou Ferrer until Lou Ferrer decided to do different things. And then I'll tell you later on how I got back to Professor V.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about that. You trained with Lou Ferrer and start progressing, I'm sure. And who were some of your classmates?
Lou Ferrer, in that class?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We had Sensei Frank, Sensei Izzy. We had, who's legendary in that dojo, was Master Tim Harris. Master Tim, Shion Tim, we call him. Shion Tim and Mr. Bill. Those two guys were just incredible practitioners. Incredible practitioners. If you remember the movie The Green Mile?
Yes, sir.
The big guy? Shion Timmy was like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He wore overalls, the same kind of overalls.
Yes,
He had that country strong. And he was the one who took me out of flash martial arts, flash V-Jitsu, because you know V-Jitsu is very flashy.
Yes, sir.
And he was the one who took me out of the flash into the method that started me on the mindset of the concept that I have now, which is just so straightforward, so straight direct. It was Shion Tim who put me on that path because he was not about the flash.
Right, right.
He was one of these guys that mastered, when you say master the basics, he mastered the basics. And one day, you know, Professor Lou Ferrer, if you know him, very flashy.
Yes.
We were doing tournaments, we're winning tournaments left and right, tournament after tournament, we go to a tournament, everybody was taking the tournament first, second, third. So, you know, you start to think that you got this stuff. You know, you start to believe that you got this stuff.
Yes, sir.
So, Shion Timmy, who was an interesting character because for the first year, damn near I was in the dojo with Lou Ferrer and himself and Mr. Bill, he never showed me anything or never taught me anything unless he was instructed to. And him and Mr. Bill would work out together after every class, and I would just sit and watch. And one day I said to him, well, how come you never really teach me anything? He said, because I don't got time to waste. He said, I see so many people come and go, I don't waste my time with those people.
Yes, sir.
He said, if Professor Lou, if Shion Lou tells me to go work with you and show you something, I'll show you.
Right.
But after that, I walk away from you.
Right.
He goes, then I got zero time to waste with people who are not going to stay. So after he realized I was really dedicated,
yes, sir.
then him and Mr. Bill let me in their little circle.
Gotcha. Where is he today?
He's in Florida.
Okay. Is he still teaching?
I don't know if he's still teaching or practicing, but he's in Florida. And all I can say is one of the great people in Jiu-Jitsu that nobody knows of.
Okay, well let me ask you this before I get back to Professor V, which none of this is getting away from Professor V. Explain to me and the audience, what is the difference between V-Jitsu Ryu, V-Jitsu Teddy, and V-Arnis Jiu-Jitsu? And give us a little history about the changes that Professor V made along the way.
Okay. The difference is when I joined the system, it was V-Jitsu Ryu.
Gotcha.
When I joined the system.
Yes, sir.
All right? And that's what Lou Ferrer used to teach, which is V-Jitsu Ryu.
Yes, sir.
Before now, as you know, he's doing Kodokan.
Yes.
But before it was V-Jitsu Ryu, that's what it was.
Yes, sir.
And that's the reason why I joined, and that's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now. Okay? And so what happened was, the V-Jitsu Ryu, Professor V told me, he goes, what I did, and this is one of the things that a lot of people don't know. So I'm glad that you're giving me this opportunity.
Yes, sir. No, I appreciate it.
Because, a lot of people think they know the story and they talk a certain, their own version of the history.
Yes, sir.
But when I say I spent hundreds of hours doing what we're doing now with Professor V.
Yes, sir.
I spoke to Professor V more than I trained with Professor V.
Yes, sir. Understood.
See?
Understood. Yes, sir.
And I asked him all the questions that you just asked. Professor, why this, why that?
Right.
And Professor V never stopped training, never stopped creating.
Yes, sir.
So this is Professor V's words, not mine. He said, when I was doing Jiu-Jitsu K, he goes, I kept learning. And as I learned, it evolved into Jiu-Jitsu Ru, and then Jiu-Jitsu 75. And then he says, now I was not doing the arnis part of the system the way I am now. So that's why the name the arnis Jitsu I have and I use. It wasn't something I made up. It was something when I started to teach after Professor Lou Ferrer moved on and started to do something else. I told him I am staying with the system I joined.
Yes, sir.
I didn't join, no disrespect to you, Professor Xian Lu. I didn't join Xian Lu Ferrer's system. I joined Professor V's system.
Yes, sir.
And if you choose to do something else, that's fine. But I'm sticking with Professor V's system.
Okay, you just brought something to my mind, and I'm going to ask a question.
Yeah.
Because why do you think students of great teachers, and why do masters leave their teacher and the system and go out and do what they were taught but call it something else? Do they realize that they're killing the system, that you're not growing the legacy? What's your feeling on
Okay, now, like I said, when I speak, a lot of people don't like the way what I have to say.
It's
okay?
truth, though. You're speaking the truth.
But everything that I'm talking, I could back up.
Yes, sir. That's
Okay?
what I want. Yes, sir.
So I'm not blowing smoke. And a lot of people think, oh yeah, or he just made up that name, or he just. So the reason why I broke down that story the way I did is because the name V Arnis Jitsu, when I started teaching, I asked Professor V, I told him, Professor Lou Ferrer is moving at the time to New Jersey. He moved from Brooklyn to New Jersey. And I said, I'm not going to do, at the time we were doing a system, which very few people remember, called Jokai Jitsu Ru. Before he did the Kodokan.
Yes, sir.
Jokai Jitsu Ru.
Yes, sir.
Some people tell you, no such thing, don't exist. It exists, okay? So that's what he did when he was leaving, when he went to New Jersey. And I stayed with the Jiu-Jitsu. And I didn't know what to do. I was not qualified to teach on my own like that.
Right.
I needed help.
Yes, sir.
I still wasn't where I needed to be. So I'm not a person that's afraid to ask for help.
Yes, sir.
So I said to Professor V, Xian Lu is leaving. I would like to stay and continue to do your system,
Right.
but I need help. I said, so would you help me, one, teach your system? He said, of course, I got you. He goes, I will help you. And two, what name to use? And he wrote down in his book, I still got the book today. He wrote in the book, the honest demonic. And then he crossed it out and said, no, people won't understand what that is. That's Filipino. He said, use this name, the honest Jitsu. And since 1984, that was the name I'm using.
So let me get clear on this. It's not the honest Ju Jitsu, it's the honest Jitsu.
The honest Jitsu.
Ush, thank you. That's
The honest Jitsu
clear.
is the name he wrote on the book. And I took that, and with his help, that's when I started to have him come down to the dojo and go to his house and train with him every week.
Yes, sir.
Every week.
Yes, sir.
So I see Professor V 4 or 5 times a week, because he, as you know, used to come down. He used to visit when Worlds Collide, when Worlds Collide was down there. I was on 58 Katy Place at the time. And, you know, that's how we just started. And I would just ask all the questions because I didn't know, you know. Okay. I wanted to make sure that I'll tell you exactly what I told him. And I don't say this in an egotistical way. Mm-hmm. I said, no one is going to know this system better than me.
Bush.
No one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. So, with that, many people have told me, and I've heard them say it, those who train with Grand Professor V, that Grand Professor V was a scholar, and he liked to document what he was doing. Mm-hmm. He wasn't just coming on the mat, showing the technique and saying, hey, all right, do that. Right. He documented things, so he was like a scholar. How do you learn from somebody if you're not academically inclined? Like me, I'm visual.
I'm visual.
I'm very visual.
I'm visual. Just like you.
You write it down, I need to see it. How do you deal with a master who likes to write it down, and how did you receive his teachings that he wrote down? How did that go for you?
Okay, read two questions. Did you ask me a question before? I never got a really chance to answer. I'm going to answer them both. Mm-hmm. Okay? About instructors that learn from their teachers and then go on and start their own thing and kind of leave the instructors, you know, to say, well, I got enough.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Professor V, and once again, this is not my words. This is him speaking. What he told me.
Yes, sir.
I asked him that question, Professor, how do you feel about that? I said, so many guys, everybody wants your information, but people are taking your information, using your information, and some of them are not even giving him any credit for it.
Right, absolutely. Right.
They're just using the information, and they wake up in the morning like they discovered it while they were sleeping. And it's like, okay, this is my stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, what the hell do you do? So when I didn't have any say, because I was just a white belt in the back of the room, because you remember how we used to be in the dojo, white belts line up in the back, black belts in the front, and you had to work your way to the front.
Absolutely.
So when I was in the back, I couldn't say nothing, but I could see.
Yes, sir. And you remember.
And I remembered and see how some of these people would treat Professor V. And I'm looking at that, I had no voice, and I'm just looking, and looking, and looking, and I didn't think it was right, but like I said, who was I? I was a nobody.
Yes, sir.
Right? So when I got to the point where I could have a voice, I started to ask questions.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And I never felt good about that. So when I had the opportunity to sit down with Professor after our training one day, and he allowed me to talk with him and ask questions, I asked him that same question. And he said to me, he said, David, he said, it's okay. He said, it's okay, David, because I'm not finished yet.
Got you.
They think they got it, David, but they don't have it. He said, I'm not finished yet. He said, so therefore, what they're taking, David, or they think that they're walking away with, he goes, you know, David, they only got a little bit.
Wow.
I got so much more. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Because I asked him specifically because, as you know, Dr. Powell was so famous, more well-known than Professor V. I had people who told me, who met me and see me wearing a Ju Jitsu jacket or something and say to me, oh, I know that guy. He studied with Professor Moses Powell. So some people used to have it reversed.
Yes, sir.
That Professor V studied with Moses Powell.
That I never heard. But yes,
oh,
I can imagine.
I've heard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because people, that's the story of people.
Right.
And I would have to correct people. Because just only because of magazines and popularity.
Yes, sir.
You know? So what happened was, I asked Professor about that. And he said, well, he's very popular, David. He's very popular. So, you know, I like to keep a low profile, David. So people, you know, people don't know me. So he was good with that because he was happy that the system, the knowledge, his information was being pushed forward.
Yes, sir. Yes, Yes, sir.
So he really appreciated that.
Yes, sir.
You know, that part of it.
You know, I want to jump in because I don't
Yeah.
want to make this like a interview. I want it to be a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just said something and it just messed me up because I interviewed Doc several months before he left, and we were talking about the same thing. And he said, James, they left the table with the appetizer and didn't realize that I was in the kitchen preparing a 4-course meal.
Yes, sir.
I had so much more to give.
Yes, sir.
And they saw something that was shiny. They
Yeah.
thought it was a diamond, and they went to pawn it.
It's funny.
He said,
He told me that too.
us.
He said it to me. I went to his house up in Vermont.
Yes, sir.
And sat with him.
That's one of my questions. I got you on that.
He-
I don't
he-
want you to jump there.
No.
I got you.
He said that to me too.
Man, and when you said Professor V said it, it's like, man. And he said they took my system and they ran with it and then they called it another name. Like, what's wrong with St. Lucas? And Doc used to say, I'm not like these other guys going out here, I created my own system. He said, I went to my teacher and I requested a blessing for him to bless me to do my own thing. I didn't just jump up and say I'm doing my own thing.
Yes, sir.
And even when he gave me permission, I still was by my teacher's side and was with him.
Yes, sir.
I always call him my teacher.
Yes,
In
sir.
fact, the more famous I became, the more I spoke his name,
Yes, sir.
Professor V. So I just wanted to put that out there in connection with what you just said, because I felt what you said, but I had no idea that Professor V said it. That's why I'm talking to you, because I don't know Grand Professor V.
Yeah.
I don't know what he said, what he taught, but you do.
Yeah, that's the conversation that he took.
Yes, sir.
And he said that, and he always respected the fact. And in fact, it's funny because when I went up to see Professor Powers, one of the first things that he told me was, when he came, when he told me on Atlantic Avenue, when I was on Atlantic and Court Street, when he came back to New York, first thing he came to me, said, I heard about what you're doing. He goes, I've been following you. And he said, thank you for taking care of my teaching.
He once told me, he said, James, it got to the point where I couldn't protect and defend Professor V like I needed to because I didn't want to cost him students.
Yeah.
So I had to leave. He said, you never heard me say that I am the #1 student of Professor V, or I am the #1 man in V Jitsu. He said, that's David James's thing. He said, I just care about my teacher being taken care of. And he contacted me and requested that I go to Florida with him to an event that you invited him
Yes,
to.
sir.
I couldn't make it.
Yes, sir.
He called me from there. He told me how fabulous the place was, the palm trees, everything. He said, James, you missed a good one. So I know that he respected and honored what you did, and he felt comfortable that somebody was there that had the same caring spirit for Grand Professor V that he had. So I'm saying that from St. Lucas to you.
Oh, no,
And he said it to me.
Appreciate that. But,
Yes, sir.
for me, that's actually how I got to become, if you want to call it, the head of the system.
I got a question for you,
Go ahead.
but I don't want to jump there yet.
Okay.
But then we having a conversation. You brought it up. So time goes on. You're learning from Professor V. You said that you spoke with him more than you trained with him, and I can relate to that because I was with Doc for 4 days at a time. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, training, breakfast, lunch, dinner, 2 a.m. in the morning, traveling with him. So I asked him a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So before we talk about what Professor V did with you, you were with Shian Lu Ferreira,
Mm-hmm.
but he went to do something else. Why did he do that, which caused you to stay with Professor V or Jiu-Jitsu? What happened?
Okay. What truly happened, and I will maybe if you interview Lou one day, he will tell you, but what truly happened was politics. And that's, politics messes martial arts up. Ego in politics destroys the martial arts.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Ego and politics.
Yes, sir.
And that's, once again, ego and politics. That's the reason why I'm here. Professor V didn't pick me because I was the greatest student. I was the most loyal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Everybody else, I got it by default because everybody else decided not to do the right thing. Grab his information, take what they wanted, left, put their own name to it. I wasn't interested in that. Okay? And when Lou Ferrer at the time left, it was because of politics. Okay? And I will let him tell the story, but the real story is, I'll show you something. First of all, you see, you can't see it on the camera, but you do see it, and I want you to bear witness to it. This little brown case is Professor V's case.
Can you bring it here?
Okay?
Put it in your lap. They'll see it.
Okay? This case is Professor V's case. These are all Professor V's notes, all of Professor V's documents, all of Professor V's writings.
That's a lot of notes.
On how we have the system. You see some of these books are 40 years, 50 years old. If you don't know, Professor V used to run a bookstore, and you said he documented everything.
Yes, sir.
Everything.
Yes, sir.
And those of you who know me, I document everything.
Yes, sir.
You know, I don't teach off the top of my head. I don't come on the floor and just, this is what we're doing today. Okay? And I'll tell you the reason why I do that. So these notes, for people who say, oh, well, you know, James don't, or he just, Professor just gave him the system and he don't really, you know, he's not the real inheritor of the system. Well, these notes are his. This was given to me when he died. Not only from him, but from his daughter. His daughter's a Supreme Court judge. Okay, Supreme Court judge. I have legal right to Professor V's name. So I am using the name legally by power of attorney from his daughter to me.
Yes, sir.
So a lot of the students who are running out here using Professor V's name, technically don't have a legal right to do so.
Understood.
She legally gave me permission to use the name with a warning. She said, I never want to see my father's name come across my desk. She's a Supreme Court judge.
Yes, sir.
So watch who you train and train people wisely.
Yes, sir.
Because if it comes across my desk and you're training the wrong people, I will take the name from you.
Wow. Yes, sir.
So, and these are all his papers.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we have another book that's 1,000 pages long. There's only 2 copies of it. I have one, and Shion Cirillo is holding a copy of it. Literally everything in the system written out from A to Z.
Yes, sir. Yes,
It's
sir.
1,000 pages
Yes, sir.
in a book. Just crazy thing. Look like a freaking telephone book.
So that is in line with my question about him being scholastic and documenting things.
So
you have that.
So here is what I'm talking about. Just so, in case you ever come across, what did I say up top? Ju Jitsu,
Yes, sir.
Professor Lou Ferrer.
Wow.
Shion Lou Ferrer, 1985,
I see it.
58 Caton Place.
And that's
My first dojo was 58 Caton Place.
that's Shion Luke. Yes, sir.
Right? When I took over from him. So now, ain't nobody can say, oh, well, no, that's not the way it went down. How did I get 58 Caton Place dojo if Lou Ferrer was still there? I took it over because he left. And if you notice, just so you could see who the instructors are in the bottom. Dario Negron,
Sensei David James.
right?
Yes, sir.
Right? And Tim Harris.
Tim Harris right here.
Tim
Yes, sir.
Harris
Vice President.
is vice president.
Yes, sir.
Just so you can see what I'm telling you is the truth.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Hush.
And the date on this is 1985.
Hush.
Okay?
Hush. So,
and here's a picture. You probably will remember this event, but this is a picture of the dojo, of me, and the first sign of Jiu-Jitsu. The very first sign where we have the name, V Arnis Jitsu.
Let everybody see this.
That's the sign. The very first sign of V on his Jitsu.
This is
That's all
history.
was it. A little piece, a little
Have you
salmon
ever
sign.
shown this in the public before?
Never seen it. Nobody ever seen it.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
And that was the dojo. And everybody know me from my dojo. So just so you understand, I've been teaching full time since 1984.
Bush.
And this was the dojo after I redid the dojo. Because I took it, I redid all my dojos, I do it, I redo them nice. You know, all my schools are nice. And that, when I took it, I did the same thing I do with everything. Do the walls, the floors, the mats, everything.
Yes, sir.
That's the dojo. You remember this event. This is when Dr. Powers came back in 1990. He came back to New York from Atlanta. If you remember that event that we had in Brooklyn, down on Atlantic Avenue.
I think I have a video clip of some of it, and he was referring to you as Shihan,
Yeah.
talking to you the whole time he was
Yeah.
teaching, and Professor V walked in, he greeted him, and then he went over.
And he went over.
Yes, sir.
And that's him, Lamar Thornton,
Bush.
Professor V. This is the first time they've seen each other in years. Since he came back.
Let's show it, because this is
First
history.
time they've seen each other in years.
We appreciate you sharing this. This is exclusive information, Ush, from somebody who was there.
And that's when we were on Atlantic Avenue, right? Remember, guys? That was 1986, 87,
Wow.
right? 86, 87? Something of that nature.
Wow.
So,
Okay, well, now I'm going right into it. I'm going to go right into it. I'm going to hit you with a few questions.
Mhm.
I don't even need the notes now. When did Grand Professor V name you the inheritor of the system? Where did he do it? Was it documented? Who witnessed it to bear witness to what took place? And how did you feel at the time when it was handed to you? And what was the opposition and the Indian jealousy and the politics that took place? If you can remember all of those.
I can remember.
Okay, yes, sir.
real simple. First of all, how did I feel? I gave it back.
What do you mean?
I told him no.
Wow.
It was on Atlantic Avenue. Gave me the certificate. In fact, that picture on the wall there is when he's handing it to me the first time on Atlantic Avenue,
Tell me why you said no.
because I was just happy to be down.
Ush.
I just wanted to be on the map.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Okay.
Understood.
And at the time, the politics were so deep. Lou Ferrer, at the time, that's why he left, because politics was crazy. Because here's what happened. People who befriended Professor V and got close to him, so Professor V thought that you were really with him, even though you might have been in another system. And Professor V did not understand, I'm going to put it this way, because this is the only way I know how to put it.
Yes, sir.
He did not understand the business of martial arts.
Yes, sir.
The business
Understood.
of martial arts.
Mhm.
So, at the time, Chris Colombo,
I know.
who was with Master Little John Davis,
Still is.
okay,
Yes, sir.
still is, good friend of mine, good Chris, he was at the time 5th Dan. At the time.
Yes, sir.
Professor V promoted him to 6th Dan.
Yes, sir.
My school, and I'm going around busting my behind just teaching his system.
Yes, sir.
Lou Ferrer, at the time, was Vijay Lou, working hard, going around, pushing Professor V's system.
Yes, sir.
Just Ju Jitsu.
Yes, sir.
And it was damn good at it. Everybody know that.
Yes, sir.
Lou in his prime was, you know, it was what it was.
Yes, sir.
Some people didn't like him, but he could hold his own.
Yes, sir.
So what happened was, after Professor V, because did not understand martial arts business, he promoted other people's students to a higher level
Got you.
than their instructor,
Got you.
which pissed some people off,
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay? Because he didn't do it to be on spite. He was showing appreciation
Wow.
for their loyalty to him,
I understand.
okay?
Yes, sir.
And here's the real reason. that nobody knows. He did it because he was afraid that nobody was going to carry on his system.
Woo.
Because there was nobody to carry on his system. I get emotional
Yes, sir.
when I talk about it.
I'm emotional just hearing it.
Okay? Because all these guys was using his stuff, and nobody was really had his name on the wall.
Right. Got you.
They were doing their stuff, putting their name to it, and he just wanted somebody clearly to carry on his system.
You know,
And that's why he did it. And because of that, I do not blame Professor Louis Shialu at the time. He got extremely angry. Okay? Other instructors, I don't know if it's okay. Little John got angry because he did it. I can't speak for him. I don't know.
Right.
But he got angry. Okay? And that led to things happen. People started breaking off.
Yes, sir.
I didn't give a damn. I was there for the information. I got my behind kicked, nearly died in the elevator, so I don't give a damn what degree I have or what rank I have. Keep teaching me.
Yes, sir.
That's all I care about.
Got you.
So, afterwards, then a whole bunch of stuff started, then stuff went crazy at that point. This is in 86, 87. I just kept on doing my thing. Then all these other guys started drifting away. And who's left? Lou Ferrer wasn't there doing Ju Jitsu no more.
Right.
Chris Colombo was off doing whatever he did. He got what he wanted. And I don't say that in a bad way, but got what he wanted. There was another gentleman training at his house. A few people got what they wanted. And they all left me, old man, again. And who was there? Me and my guys that you see here today.
Yes, sir.
We were still there, just grinding,
Yes, sir.
and doing our thing. So when he gave it to me, you know, I told him, Professor, not necessary. Happy to be done.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And then, when it came to a situation where they raised our rent, and me being naive again, not understanding Manhattan versus Brooklyn,
Right. That's a big difference.
huge difference. When they say they're going to raise our rent, I said, well, they raised us to Manhattan now.
Right.
Said, to hell with that. I said, we might as well go to Manhattan. And then, at that point in time, I started looking for schools in Manhattan.
Right.
And then I found the place I found on 25 Park Place. And when I showed it to everybody, they thought I was out of my damn mind. And I said, this system is so good. It deserves to be on the level with Oyama and Tiger Schumann.
Push.
We're going to play on that level.
Yes, sir.
And I believe the information was that good that as long as I kept learning, as long as I had Professor B teaching me,
Right.
and I kept learning, and I stayed humble, and I worked hard, that the people would see it and respect it,
Yes, sir.
and we'll be able to survive.
Yes, sir.
Where everybody thought I was out of my damn mind. Everybody. And that's a whole nother story in itself. Okay? And then what I did was to show Professor V, after I made the commitment to the school, to get in that school, I said, now I got to double down on my training.
Yes,
I got to be better.
Right.
I got to really understand what this system is.
Yes, sir.
I had in my mind, I said, you know what? I'm going to show Professor V, not through just working out on the mat and wearing his patch and doing seminars and tournaments. I'm going to show him, not words, physically, show him by the financial commitment that we're going to put out there and by visually him seeing that when he's gone, his system will survive.
Got you.
So that, if you remember, if you see those lights, says Arnis Jitsu, Professor V's Arnis Jitsu.
Right. Yes,
They
sir.
were up in my school in Park Place, and the day we had our grand opening, he came up the elevator, the place was pitch black. The only thing he seen and everybody seen was the lights that said Professor V's, not David James,
Right.
not anything else.
Right.
Professor V's V on his Jitsu.
Yes, sir.
And that's, I did it for him.
Yes, sir.
To let him know that when you're gone, look at this commitment, look at the size of this school, that we're not going nowhere.
Right.
We're not changing the name.
Right.
We're not drifting off into some other thing.
Right.
You will be remembered.
I've been there twice. Beautiful place. Beautiful. So, take us into how he named you the inheritor, how you felt. Well, you gave it back, but now here he is
Second
again.
time.
How did you feel? Who witnessed it, and was it documented? And what obstacles did you have to overcome receiving this great responsibility?
Okay, first thing, who witnessed it? We had, the second time, we had, I don't know if you remember Mike Black. Remember Big Mike Black?
Professor Michael
Professor
Black.
Michael Black?
He came to my dojo
That's
in
right.
1998. I
Yeah,
know
he
him
was
very
alive
well.
then.
Yes.
You know, before he passed.
Right.
Good friend.
Yes.
Mike Black was there, and I want to give him that respect because
Absolutely.
I had a lot of
Absolutely.
respect for him.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay, Mike Black. It was Aaron Banks,
Yes.
Mike DePasquale Jr. and Sr.,
Father and son.
father and son. Master Carlisle Griffin was there. We had, how many people, Shiana? It was ridiculous the amount of people that were there, man.
And this is
Shion
at Park
Howard.
Place.
This is at Park Place.
Okay.
Is it Howard? It was Shion Howard. In fact, Master Corson was there. Anthony Richards was there at the time. He wasn't Grandmaster Anthony Richards. It was Shion Anthony Richards was there. We had about 250 people there.
Wow.
Right? At the opening, because we did it at the opening. So around 250 people were there, 100, something like that. You know, we did it at the grand opening.
Yes, sir.
And then Professor V made an announcement that day that wasn't received too well from some of the people who were around a little longer or felt that they should have been, you know, the head of the system.
Right.
Professor V made an announcement that day, from this day forward, all promotions will go through David. And he's the head of the system now. He's taking over and running the system. And that picture, also, if you look at it, the Deepa Swap Senior there, and I have other photos with, there were so many instructors that were there, you know, and it's documented in that particular photo and others that were there. But as far as the opposition, you know, everybody had their opinion. You know, some people feel like, oh, I should have been heavier, I've been around longer. I had people tell me, oh, you know, you're just a baby of the system, or who do you know, I've been in Jiu-Jitsu before you, all of that kind of stuff. And I get it.
Right.
You know, I got people still talking crap today about, oh, how does James got 200 black belts and I'm in the system before him?
Right. Got you.
I could explain it if you really want to know.
Right.
Okay? But here's what I inherited. Hard work. That's all I inherited.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Because here's the reality. The way we learned was you got on the mat, what was taught today, you worked on today.
Right.
You came tomorrow with different information.
Yes, sir.
And you just worked.
Right.
And you just got down, you know, tit for tat. Everybody flowed, bam, 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 bam. Different technique. One day, I don't know if you are familiar with Master Bouncy from the EP system.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Master Ed Pugh system, Sensei Bouncy, man, awesome practitioner. And so Bouncy and Lou, Professor Lou, were going tit for tat. And they're rocking and rolling. I mean, these guys are just spectacular. Okay? And they're doing technique, and they're just, man,
Touch and go.
you know, just flowing. So I asked, after they got through, you know, working, we're talking, eating, whatever, I asked Lou Ferrer, remember that technique that you did with Sensei Bouncy? You did. It went like, Lou looked at me and goes, man, I don't remember what I had for dinner last night. Don't come and ask me that.
Right.
You know, it's just work. I'm just working.
Right.
And I never forgot that because I'm very anal and I'm very visual, and massive repetition is important for me. I'm very slow learner, but once I got it,
It's yours.
I got it.
Yes, sir.
And I'm like, you can't teach like that.
Right.
But that's how we learn in jiu-jitsu. If you want to be honest, that's how we came up.
Absolutely. Yes,
That's
sir.
why a lot of the people who've been in the system for years and years and years, they ain't got no notes.
Right.
They ain't got no syllabus. They ain't got no program.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They really don't.
Right. Understood.
They just, because all we did was pass on the training the way we learned the training. We got on the mat, we work hard, we got down, we have promotion, you got promoted. You work hard, you got promoted, that's the way it was.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I said, my rent in Manhattan at the time, okay, eventually it grew from, like, it started at what, 7 to, then it wound up to 20 by the time we were through, because we had 3 floors. $1,000 a month. You can't pay a rent like that. Just doing whatever you feel like.
Right, right.
You gotta be organized.
You gotta be organized. Yes, sir. That's right. Real
Judo,
organized.
organized. Taekwondo, organized.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Oyama, 100 schools, organized.
Organized. Yes, sir.
Tiger Schumann, 35 dojos, organized. Aikido, organized.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Jiu-Jitsu, not organized. Great practitioners as far as organization, not organized. Because you got guys who all have that Jiu-Jitsu. You can see it when you ain't got to ask if anybody studied Sanukas or if they were touched by V. You can stand on the side and look, watch them do technique, and you automatically know.
Absolutely.
Somewhere along the line, they were touched by Sanukas or Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes, sir.
Or somebody who was in between.
Yes, sir. I got you.
You can just see it. So you can call it whatever the hell you want to call it. But the movements are the movements.
Yes, sir.
But everybody's doing different stuff.
Got you. Got you.
Everybody's wearing different uniforms. So I said, no, not going to work.
Right.
Sat Professor V down. I said, Professor, I have to make this thing work. The rent is crazy. And I got to make it work. He said, see, this is Professor V. For those of you who don't know, this is Professor V. He said, David, I don't know the business of martial arts like that. I'm not a businessman like that, David. He said, if you want to learn how to have a school like that, big school and multiple schools, this is Professor V. He said, go to Pereira. Go to Shinon Antonio Pereira from
Yes,
Shinon
sir.
Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I did. And if you know Shinon Pereira, you know, he's not an easy guy to get along with or deal with, you know. So I went there with Professor V's blessings I said, hey, I need your help. And he said, ain't telling you a damn thing. Okay? That's not the words he used,
Right.
but fill in the blanks.
Yes, sir.
He said, I ain't telling you a damn thing.
Right.
I ain't giving you jack. He said, you know why, David? He said, because if I give it to you for free, you piss all over. Nothing in life is free.
Not even freedom. That's right.
He said, go see Eileen, which was his wife. And that's what I did. I went to see Eileen, paid for the year, cash, bought everything he had. Everything he had. Every book, everything he had. Signed up with him and went studying with him twice a week. Got on his floor, began as a white belt, right? Then shortly into it from white belt, it was ridiculous. Now I'm a school owner now.
I understand.
I have 25 Park Place now. I got the biggest school in the city in Jiu-Jitsu,
Right.
right? It was myself, Oyama, and Tiger Schumann. That dojo's over 6,000 square feet. Mine was 18,000 square feet.
I was there.
Okay? And I'm wearing a white belt training with Pereira because I need to know how to do this. And I paid my dues. We talked. Took a liking to me, and he taught me the business of martial arts. So the reason why our system is organized the way it's organized, the information I got from Professor B, all this information in these books, I organized it into a system.
Yes, sir.
A system that can be duplicated. And with the help of Shinon Pereira of how to organize it, but I didn't use his information, I used V's information.
Got you. He gave you the template and you filled in.
And I filled in the blanks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that's how come we have 200 black belts.
Yes, sir.
And we were able to survive because I also brought in the physical fitness into our system, because our system did not have it. Our system was just all jujitsu, jujitsu, jujitsu.
Right, right.
No. I said, what got me out of that elevator situation? My stamina, my condition.
Right.
Physical fitness is a major part of martial arts. I was doing Taibo before Taibo was Taibo.
Yes,
And I have that documented.
Right.
Now I'm serious.
Yes, sir. I understand.
Physical fitness, exercise, aerobic exercise with weights, training, ropes, this, that, all of that. In the 1980s, Taibo came out in the 1990s. I was doing it all before Taibo. But I did it to make our system better. I didn't do it as a separate business. You came to my school in that academy. I had 18 Thai bags lined up in my school. Nobody, even guys who did Muay Thai, which is Phil Nurse, who had the only Muay Thai school in the city, did not have Thai bags. And when I went down and studied with the Thais, I saw, boom, boom, said, we need this because we need to be physically fit. And I came back and added it to our system. And I came back and put that into the system and made us, if it wasn't for that, we would not be able to pay the rent and we would not be able to survive. Okay?
Yes, sir.
But I did it, once again, not as a separate business. Now kickboxing is its own separate business.
Right, right. Understood.
I had bags in kickboxing before anybody else was doing kickboxing. I was already doing it, ahead of the trick. So my thing is, I've always taken our system and had forward thinking.
That's what, see, you're answering one of my questions. I don't have to look down anymore, I got it. My question, and you can touch on it, as the inheritor of the arnis jiu-jitsu, as the trusted one, what have you done to evolve the system? Some of the things that you have done to ensure its success in the future, and what have you brought to the system?
This is what I feel I did. And I'm not going to say me, because my guys.
Yes, I understand.
Okay?
Yeah, I
don't play that.
I know you
I
have
don't play that whole, oh, me, I'm the grandmaster. Because you had asked me once, why don't I use the title grandmaster? Okay? Because that's not how I carry myself.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Okay?
Understood.
I look at what we do here, like Microsoft, any other business. Everybody knows Apple. When you say Apple, you think of one person, Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, yes, sir.
Okay? I don't give a damn who's running it. You think Steve Jobs.
That's right.
Steve Jobs is the grandmaster of Apple.
Yes.
And he will always be the grandmaster
Yes,
of Apple.
Gotcha.
The other guys are just running the business.
Just running the business. Yes,
And when that other guy, whoever it is, retires, another CEO will come in and run the business. That's how I look at what we do. I am just running this system. And when it's my turn to step down, somebody else will run the system. That's why my belt says chief instructor, not grandmaster.
Yes, sir. I want to speak on that, if I may.
Yeah.
Just to clear it up. There are a lot of self-appointed grandmasters. There are a lot of self-promoting professors.
Listen.
Right? The reason why I call you Grandmaster David James is because, and this may sound weird because I always say Grand Professor V. Grand Professor V trusted you. His daughter trusts you. Shian Shirillo and Shian Howard, Shian Scott trust you. And you are the inheritor of the system. Now, my first teacher, I come from a Judo Kwan Taekwondo. And my Grandmaster Rick Barry, who's 82 years old, still teaching. He also teaches Aikido. He told me years ago, he said, the reason why I don't talk about my rank is because when you found your own system, you don't necessarily deal with rank, you give rank.
Yes, sir.
So that's why it's proper respect to say Grandmaster David James, because Grand Professor V made you shows you, trusted you with the awesome responsibility as the inheritor of the system. Nobody else will have that position or title because nobody else was given it other than you. So that's why I say now, my teacher, Dr. Moses Powell, he was a Grand Master for decades, but everybody called him Master Moses.
Yes.
They didn't call him Grand Master.
Push.
You know? So I understand being humble, but you got people out here, Grandmaster so-and-so, Grandmaster this,
Yeah.
Soke that. I mean, yeah, you got people calling themselves Soke,
Yeah.
Grandmaster, Professor, and they didn't get promoted by their instructor. So somewhere, like you talk about structure, the business of the martial arts, that's why I do it, because I come from a strong foundation.
Yes.
I don't come from just some, back alley thing. I come from a system, and
Yes.
I respect the chain of command.
Yes.
So that's why I just wanted to clear that up for everybody, and to you, and
Yes.
the Shions.
But you see, for me, like I said, I look at it as I am just a caretaker
Us.
of the name.
Gotcha.
I don't know if you noticed or not. You were in here when they were bowing out class.
Yes, sir.
Shion Cirillo turned around and said, courtesy to Professor B. Everybody gave courtesy to the statue.
Yes, sir.
He said, courtesy to Professor Dave.
Yes, sir.
I turned around and I gave courtesy to the statue. I never, and we've been here 18 years in this location.
Yes, sir.
I never, when they say courtesy to Professor, I never look at the students. I always look at Professor B.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That's something that I do because to me, even when he says courtesy to me, I'm courtesy to him.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Because
I
if
got
you understand, without him, there's no me, there's no this.
Yes, sir.
So you gotta get your head straight. Let's keep it right.
Beautiful.
Don't get lost in your own world. Like, they
Yeah.
always say you're a legend in your own mind.
Yes, sir.
Some of these guys that are using this title, they're legends in their own mind.
Yes, sir.
Professor of what? Master of what? Soke of what?
Right. Gotcha.
Okay? It's not personal. What you did for yourself. What are you leaving behind?
Gotcha.
Professor V trusted me to move this system forward, hoping that I will leave something behind.
Yes, sir.
I will leave something behind that the system will grow.
Yes, sir.
What good is it if I, calling myself Professor, and I got 3 black belts, but I'm Professor David James?
Yes, sir.
What am I leaving behind?
Right. Gotcha.
All that is nonsense.
Right.
It's ego driven. Okay? For me, I look at it as, and this is why me and my guys, that's why we stay together. Because these guys will tell you, we have bitchin' fights. Okay? I mean, I'm talking about some crazy fights. But they all know one thing. I love this system.
Yes, sir.
What I do for this system, and the amount of hours that I put into this system, and forget, there isn't anyone wearing the gi that call themselves Jiu-Jitsu, or have done Jiu-Jitsu, or feel that they deserve the title of Grand Master or whatever. There's no one wearing a uniform doing Jiu-Jitsu put more time into the system than me.
Beautiful.
No one.
Gotcha.
No one.
Gotcha.
The amount of hours, the amount of sacrifice, my level of commitment to this system and to Professor B, nobody can match. No one can match. So you think you want the title or you feel you deserve to be Grandmaster? Okay.
Right. Gotcha.
How many toilets have you scrubbed?
I'm glad you said that because I saw you mopping the floor. I saw you with the mop in your hand.
I do it all
And
the time.
I looked and I said, that's what I'm talking about. That's being real.
I do it every day. every
Whatever
class.
needs to be done, the position doesn't mean anything. This is what needs to be done.
Gotta do it.
And, you, in the beginning you mentioned you came from a very strict religious family. And I'm not turning this into religion. I
Good.
just want to make a principle.
Yes, sir.
Because I feel what you're saying.
Hmm?
I'm a Muslim.
Yes, sir.
From the nation.
Yes, sir.
And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the leader of the Nation of Islam.
Yes, sir.
And he taught Malcolm, Louis Farrakhan, Wallace, Muhammad Ali, and done great things
Yes,
all
sir.
over the world. But do you know, just like you, his teacher, Master Farad Muhammad, when he was about to leave, he was going to name who his successor was going to be. And all the top ministers that was there before Elijah, who could speak more eloquently than Elijah, who put a lot of time in before he even showed up,
Yes, sir.
thought that they were going to be the one who got chosen. And he said, will you all, they said, who do you all think should be the leader? Nobody said that, but you could see the crowd.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
He said, would you allow me to pick who I want you to follow? And they said, yes. Master, yes. Whoever you pick, we'll follow. I want you to follow this little fellow right here. And they're like, what? Elijah, he can't even talk well. They didn't, you understand what I'm saying?
No, I get it.
So your story, but look what Elijah did
Yes.
with what he received from his teacher.
Yes, sir.
And he reproduced himself.
Yes.
So I just wanted to share that. And I just have a few more questions.
Yes, go ahead.
But real quick, how can the listening audience connect with you? What's your address? What's the schedule at the dojo? How can they connect with your shihans and get trained and taught if they're interested in the arnis jiu-jitsu?
Okay, if you allow me to, I'd like to introduce the people, and this is the first time it's ever being said on anyway.
Listen, I'm
Okay.
here for you to share with everybody
Okay.
and set the record straight about a lot of things.
We, as you know, we're speaking in COVID times.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
coming off.
That's
the
why I
back,
got the mask on.
coming off the back end.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because of COVID times, we've lost some great instructors during COVID.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Professor Rico Guy was one of them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I asked myself a simple question. I said, although Shion Howard been with me, he brought me into the system.
Yes, sir.
Okay? We're still together today. Shion Cirillo, all been here 30 years plus.
Yes, sir.
Okay? These guys been with me. And your whole wall full of people,
Right.
and you see back there,
Yes, sir.
all of them guys 25, 30 years plus. They're with me because of how I treat them. Everybody gets treated with respect. We're all equal. Like I tell you, we have bitching fights. They curse me out. I mean, literally curse me out. You know? And it's cool.
I see Shion Cirillo laughing, so I know it's true.
No, it's cool.
Yes, sir.
But you see, so many of the other instructors, because they put themselves on a pedestal, there ain't no way in hell.
Right. I got you. I understand.
They sitting there on a regular basis. Okay? And you know, but they wouldn't even allow nothing like that.
Right.
Oh, you disrespectful student. No, man, we're human beings. We're people.
Yes, sir.
We're all human beings. We all knew each other for 30 years, 25 years plus, all sweating them at this and this and that. We got different opinions. Just because you got a different opinion don't mean that we can't argue about something and then still be on the same path or something else.
Right.
We understand they're all on the same mission.
Yes, sir.
Guys, help me move the system forward.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
sir.
And that's what it is.
Yes, sir.
And that's the main goal. That's the main goal. That's what Park Place was all about. Park Place was all about, man, people are going to know that this system is here because when you come into this dojo, it's this.
Yes, sir.
And unfortunately, because of circumstances, 9/11 situation, we have to leave there, wind up here. 18 years here.
Right.
Cool. But in my mind, I promised Professor V something, and I'm not fulfilling my promise to him. And I said that to him before he died in his bed. I said, Professor V, people will know this system.
Yes, sir.
And people see my style of jiu-jitsu. Oh, he's not doing jiu-jitsu. I told Professor V, Professor, we used to do seminars together all the time. People couldn't get, James, people could not get the information. Because our techniques, as you know, there's 10 moves, 15 moves, overkill, this, that.
Yes, sir.
The average Joe who just want a little self-defense, they love us. They see us, they're like, whoa, man, these guys are amazing.
Yes, sir.
But they can't see themselves doing that. So one day, it was Shinan Paredes school and my school. We got an invitation to perform in front of head of the DEA, FBI,
One of my questions.
law enforcement. It was a youth seminar, and it was done down in the DEA headquarters.
Yes, sir.
It was there, all the top law enforcement officers, captains, all were there. You know, they wanted to pick someone that they could use to help their agency.
Yes, sir.
So it was basically me and Shinan Paredes were competing
Right.
for that slot.
Yes, sir.
We went out there, and man, we just blew them away. Shinan Paredes and his guys went out there. They were awesome. They were quick, precise, clean. Everything ended with a throw. Wasn't only overkill, wasn't all the locks and the movement, take them here, flow them here, take them here. We were doing that. That's jiu-jitsu.
Yes, sir.
People walked over to us, man, you guys are incredible. You guys are talented. Man, you guys are amazing. But my officers can't do that.
Overkill.
And we lost that contract. I went home pissed. And I kicked myself in the behind. I was angry as hell. Because all of them came up to us and said, man, you guys are just amazing. But they seen the 1, 2, 3, the quickness of Miyamaru, but everything ended in the throw. Right? Nevertheless, we lost the contract. I went home, I said, no, that ain't never happening to us again. Never happened to us again.
Right.
Okay? Now, I'm going to seminars with Professor V. Every school we go into where people are working on the techniques, Professor's getting angry, and he very seldom got angry, but he's like, David, why can't they get it? And I said to him, Professor, it's too much. It's too much. He goes, yeah, but it's easy, David. I said, easy for us.
Right.
Because
Right.
we are Jiu-Jitsu.
Right.
Easy for us.
Yes, sir.
It's not easy for them. They come from the system, down block, middle block, reverse punch, kick. And now you're talking about take them here, choke them here, pick them up, turn them down, flip them over, turn them here. Too much.
Right.
I started talking to Grandmaster, and I said, Professor, what do you want? What do you want for your system? He said, David, I want everybody to do my system. I want the man and the woman who just want to learn to defend themselves to do the system. And the karate guy, he goes, I want jiu-jitsu for everybody. No matter what style, no matter what system, taekwondo, shotokan, kung fu, I want everybody to participate in our system.
Yes, sir.
I said, Professor, would you mind if I work on something and show you? He said, no. I went to work. With the back of my mind, having that thing would happen at that meeting. I came up with a program called 1, 2, 3 hit.
Yes, sir. Right on my page.
The 1, 2, 3 hit is Jiu-Jitsu broken down for the layman.
Yes, sir. Simplify.
Incredibly simplified.
Gotcha.
Now, not only that, it is Jiu-Jitsu, okay, where what I did was I took all of Professor V's information, and not only did I organize it, but I created our own language.
Bush.
Our own language.
That's what I was looking for when I
Football
said,
players.
how have you evolved the system?
See, this is how I evolved the system.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Football players on the field, they have their own language.
Right.
Even though football players have their own language, if you remember what happened when Peyton Manning, okay, came along, changed the game with his language.
His language. That's right.
People were like, what the hell is going on?
All that.
And he's like, change the play, call it, different, moving guys around. People were like, what the hell is going on? It took them years before they caught on to his language.
Right.
Drug dealers in the street got their language.
Yes, sir.
MS-13 gang guys got their language. The Bloods of the Crip got their own language.
That's right.
What's the language of your system?
English.
Most people don't have it.
Right.
So I organized the language.
Yes, sir.
And what I did was, with our language for our system. Super, let me get my other book. Oh, here, that's right here. What I did was with our language of our system. So if you see me teach anywhere, I carry my book with me all the time. Everywhere. I never teach off the top of my head. I created a whole program of language.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Circle of success. What does it take to be successful? What? There's a mindset.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
You got to plan what you do. You got to do it and review it. If it don't work, if it's not for you, get rid of it. Right. See, the old days of practice harder, but if the technique is not for you, it's not for you.
Gotcha.
I don't give a damn how hard you practice it. So plan it, do it, review it, get rid of it. Steps to take. You got to have steps. And this is what I did that got me all the contracts that I've had in all the different agencies and the 7 different countries that I work with. This is why we got it. Because we had a system and our language.
So you went to them with like a, let's say, a PowerPoint presentation of Jiu-Jitsu or arnis
on paper. That the way they understand it.
The way you simplify it.
I simplified it in a way where you give me 25 people. I used to train 400 people over a 1 month period. 25 groups of 25. Okay? Everybody got to get the same information. Yes, how the hell do you do that if you're doing every class different?
Right.
Can't
do it. That's right.
What are the key points you have to remember? Here's our language, steps to take. You got to have the steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3, ABCs. Right?
Yes, sir.
When you teach your kid, everybody, when they teaching your children how to spell and how to read, you don't start from the Z. You start from the A.
That's right.
What is the A, the B, and the C's?
Yes, sir.
Okay? When you walk into a new job, what do you say? What do I got to do first?
Yes, sir.
Second, third. You learn it.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I did with Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu did not have it.
Gotcha.
So this is one of the things that I did. I organized it in steps to take. Now, this was back in, I did this in the 90s. In the 80s and 90s. Okay, so what? Now what? Edge weapons. Okay? Just to show you so you can see for yourself.
Before you talk about edge weapons, let me just say this because I have things I want to share with the audience. I think it was Black Belt Magazine stated that you were one of the best knife defense masters in the country.
Well, I appreciate them for that, but
You familiar with that?
I'm familiar with the article, but
yes, sir.
you know, once again, I just look at it and just keep it moving. Okay?
Yes. Well, we're just sharing with the audience your accomplishments. Yes, sir.
Because what I did with edge weapons, a lot of martial artists, and once again, this is no disrespect to anybody, so I don't know people calling me, you disrespect. No, I'm not just. Nobody got more respect for the arts than I do, and masters than I do. That's why a lot of the old timers embrace me and help me, like Professor Duncan, like Wally J, like, you know, Antonio Pereira, because of the respect I have for the master.
Yes, sir.
Like Dr. Powell,
yes,
who
sir.
embraced me at the end
Yes,
and helped me
yes, sir.
because of the respect I have for his teachings.
Yes, sir.
And that's, so I got respect, big time respect.
Yes, sir.
But in the martial arts, okay, there was no organized system in Jiu-Jitsu for edge weapons training. A lot of people, they don't do knife training, they do Jiu-Jitsu with a knife.
Exactly. I understand.
Okay, there's a
when
big
I pick
difference.
up the chair, I'm just doing Jiu-Jitsu using the chair.
Using it, you're not doing chair technique,
Right.
You're doing Jiu-Jitsu with a chair.
the chair.
And you can fool people
Yes,
who
sir.
don't know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But if you know, you got a problem.
Yes, sir.
And let me explain to you why what I'm talking about very quickly. I went to a seminar once, it was in Baltimore, in the backwoods. I was a guest from someone who'd seen me at another seminar. Invited me down. I was one of only 2 black people there. And everybody else was mercenaries and soldiers of fortune.
Yes, sir.
Okay? When we went to this seminar, you drove on that road, on a highway, regular paved road, then you got off the road, drove down another road, And then all of a sudden, you turn onto a dirt road. And I am not BSing you.
I believe you.
You're driving for literally a half a mile and nothing like a cornfield, nothing but weeds behind you, and all of a sudden a barn was there.
Yes, sir.
That's where the seminar was held.
Wow.
And then this place wasn't even on no GPS.
But I understand.
But here's the deal. We're training hard. At the time I thought, well, no, we're working hard. I'm working hard on training Ju Jitsu, self-defense, blah, 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 blah. I go into this room. There's about 40 people there. The whole 3 days was teaching people how to kill somebody with a knife. I came back to our dojo after that weekend, and I said to all the students, we've been playing games. We're playing games. We're blowing smoke up our own behind. We got to get serious. I went to work on organizing an edge weapons program.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Because what I seen, and I'm telling you, what I seen, those guys, there wasn't no martial artists, they ain't had no black belt, they ain't had no title, they would have ran through 90% of the martial artists that I know without a problem with an edge weapon.
Wow. Yes, sir.
Without a problem.
Yes, sir.
You want to call them hillbillies from the sticks, you call them whatever the hell you want to call them.
But they knew how to kill.
If they got started, you couldn't shut them down. So you running around here with all this ego, oh my God, now say this and that, say that. No, you see, outside in the street, you ain't got no gear on, you ain't got no belt on. Nobody don't know nobody. See? That's what a knife guy can do.
Yes, sir.
And that's what martial artists don't understand. You think you're ready because you train once or twice with a knife technique where you take the knife, twist it around, make the man stab himself, and turn it. Yo, you blowing smoke up your behind, man. That's not the real world.
Yes, sir.
Hey? So I put together a knife program, and this knife program is the A to Z in knife training. Because you know I have a thing called the 10 Commandments of self-defense.
I heard you teach on that before.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
And this now, you see for yourself, the 10 Commandments of knife. Offense and defense. Because you need to know something offensively, what you need to know, what you don't need to know. What can put you in harm's way, what can't put you in harm's way. You need to know. Because everybody shows you what to do, but no one. When the last time you got on a martial arts floor and the instructor goes, I'm going to teach you what not to do. Never happens.
Yes, sir.
When you buy a package and you open up a package, what's the first thing you see? Warning. Don't stick it in some water while you're taking a shower. Right? What not to do.
Yes, sir. That's right.
So I teach on what not to do
Yes, sir.
to keep yourself out of harm's way.
Yes, sir.
And what to look for. The signs to see if this guy's more skillful than you think. Man, so you don't be overzealous and get caught out. You notice everybody teach knife stuff. You see guys doing all kind of wonderful knife stuff on YouTube and all kind of, but do they ever tell you or teach you how they got that good? How did they practice to get as good as they are? They never show you. We teach you step by step how to go from literally from A to Z. And I got my whole program on knife, pages of it. I got a thing called Power Knife.
Yes, sir.
Mind blowing. Mind blowing Power Knife. I was just working this the other week with some other students that she also will invited down. And these guys are like, man, never thought about this. And there wasn't no bumps, he's a good martial artist.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But when I introduced them to this, they were like, yo, I need to know that stuff. We don't know that. And they were good martial artists. Okay? And this is just one of the things that I'm doing to evolve the system. And if I can, this is the latest thing. Because you see, once again, going back to that grandmaster thing you're talking about. Guys calling themselves grandmaster, guys saying I'm this, I'm that. I'm walking around my chest thinking I'm my 8th dan, 10th dan, 15th dan. What have you done to move your system forward?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of the things that Dr. Powell told me when we had a discussion, and he had a dinner in I think it was at the airport. I think so.
Newark, New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey.
You were in New Jersey. You were at that
I
dinner.
was all of it, yeah.
Okay? He told me this in his house, but he also said it at the dinner. And everybody was there from St. Lucas,
Yes, sir.
paying tribute. He brought people up. Everybody did their thing. And if you remember clearly, he said, you guys are showing me
what
I already showed you.
Impress me.
He said, all right?
Show me something.
Show me something new.
That's what
I've
he
been
said.
gone.
That's what he said.
I've been gone.
Right.
And now I'm back. And you showing me what I showed you. I'm not impressed.
That's what he said.
Did he not say that?
He said it. I got it on video.
I'm not impressed. So show me something
Right.
else.
Yes, sir. That's right. That's right.
And one of the things that I always do, I never follow the followers.
Yes, sir.
I follow the leaders.
Teach.
So I
Teach.
create the trends. I don't follow the trend. That's why I told you I was doing Taibo before Taibo.
Yes, sir.
I was doing cardio kickboxing before cardio kickboxing. I brought fitness into the martial arts training before anybody was even talking about MMA.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Working out, fitness, Thai, exercise, this, that. Nobody.
Yes, sir.
I was doing MMA before MMA.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
If you remember my school, the first time the Gracies came down and held a seminar, it was in my dojo. First one.
Yes, sir.
First Muay Thai people that ever came to New York was in my seminar, was at my school.
Yes, sir.
First seminar. So we had the beginning people there. Right? So what I have done, going back to the conversation I was telling you earlier about the COVID and what happened is since Professor Rico Guy passed and the other instructors that I know passed, I said to myself, how many great instructors passed in the last 5 years? And honestly, and I'm asking you this honestly, how many of their students have all the information? Not been through it,
Right.
have it.
That's a humbling question, and
I don't care who the instructor is.
Right.
I don't care what the system. It could be Peter Urban.
in other words, it's time to get things organized and get that information and document and preserve it.
So,
Because time doesn't wait for anyone.
and not only that, so I got the books, I got the notes, I got the professor's suitcase. There's only one suitcase. Okay?
Yes, sir.
When I'm not here, what if COVID took me?
Right.
These guys we've been together 30 years,
Right. Right.
40 years. They've seen all the information, they can't remember it. And you know from teaching, and you know from bearing witness of instructors, no matter how talented they are, what Doc showed them, they took what they liked, what Doc showed them, and they built on what they liked.
Yes, sir.
And they might have shown their students one or two things that Doc showed them.
Yes, sir.
And so when they create black belts, their black belts are only going to teach their students what their instructors showed them.
So it gets
And
watered down.
they're going to take what they like from what their instructors showed them
Right.
and move it forward. So it's not a disrespectful thing. They're not doing it disrespectfully. It's just a progression of human nature.
Yes, sir.
People train in what they like.
Yes, sir.
You know how many people don't like the arnis part of our system?
Right. Gotcha.
I don't need no damn six. I ain't work the six. I like the Ju Jitsu. I like the hands-on, the move, the flow. They don't understand the stick part of our system.
Right.
So they don't gravitate to it.
Right.
And I guess some guys that gravitate to the stick. They don't gravitate to the other part. So they teach more the stick. Okay? I got other guys who train me who just totally make their own crap up. Okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm telling you truthfully. They went out there and they made their own stuff up.
Yes, sir.
Off of what we taught them, but they decided they're gonna make a little twist here, a little twist there, so they could feel like they invented something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. But now, that hurts your students, and you, like we say, we're talking about Sanukas, right? We're talking about Vijitsu. People who really want to know Sanukas, are they really getting Sanukas information? Or are they getting a version of some new kids' information.
Yeah.
My people, are they getting arnis Jitsu from the students that went out there from me and opened up their own schools and taught their own? Are they getting arnis Jitsu information the way Professor taught it to me? Or are they getting the version of their instructors' information?
Right. Got it.
And I said, you know what? That crap can't go on. How many times you've been on the mat and you're working the technique? No, I go like this. No, Professor showed it to me like this. No, I go like this. No, I go like this. And you and other black belts are debating it.
Right.
And sometimes egos get hurt because people get their feelings hurt.
Right.
And everybody got no. This is the way he showed it to me. No, this is the way he showed it to me. And until you have Doc there, or until you have Professor V there to say it goes like this, then everybody else humbles up and just say, okay, that's how it goes.
It has happened that way.
And how many times that has happened?
Right.
So I said to myself, no. So what I created, and you're the first person outsider who's hearing about this.
Yes, sir.
I created something that's called the Street Self-Defense University. And the Street Self-Defense University is a library of every single freaking technique that Professor V put in this book. In this case, all the 5 books that we have, the yellow book, the red book, the white book, all of our information is now archived in this university. I've been working on this. Sharon Howard, Sharon Cirillo, been with me through COVID. Okay? Today, we have over 870 videos already videoed. And we are not finished yet.
Yes, sir.
They're 10 minutes long. So when the university is up and running, all you need to do is go in, whatever subject matter you want. Let's say I want Vijay Sotes. We know Professor V been teaching the Vijay Sotes since the 1950s. Everybody got their variation.
Right.
But here's what I did. I got Professor V on tape doing Vijay Sotes in the university.
Got you.
You go into the Vijay Sotes, tay number 5, push the button, me and Professor V doing the Vijay Sotes.
Yes, sir.
That's how it goes.
Push.
And that's how it would go 50 years from now when I'm dead and gone. You ain't learning David J version. You're learning Professor V version
Yes, sir.
from him.
Right.
And that's what documented with everything. So it looks like something like this. You walk into it, you got 30 different modules, you pick the subject matter, you scroll down, and here it is. And this is something new that you will be seeing that's never been done before. Because once again, what I do to evolve, 10 commandments of self-defense, been out for 10 years.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Those are the 10 commandments of self-defense.
Right.
Not the 10 suggestions.
Yes, sir.
Okay? This is something that's universal. Any style, any system, I don't care, any combat. I sat down during COVID and said, what is the most important thing an individual will have to know who walk through that door outdoors,
Yes, sir.
who know nothing, and they want to learn from us?
Yes, sir.
There are certain laws, not suggestion, laws. Because here's the difference between a suggestion and a law. Laws, if you violate them, you get punished.
Push.
Like the law of gravity.
Push.
You don't believe in gravity? I don't give a damn if you believe in gravity or not. Any country, any language you speak, jump off the roof, my friend, you are going to die and hit the floor.
Yes, sir. That's
Because
right.
that's a law.
It's a law.
A stop sign is not a law. You can run a stop sign, you might get caught, you might not get caught.
Right.
You may get hit, you may not get hit.
That's right.
But they put stoplights on very busy streets. Try to run a red light during rush hour. Guaranteed, for breaking that law, you will get into an accident.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Okay? So there's certain things that are laws. So what I did, I sat down and I said, what is the real laws of combat and learning and progression? And I have something called the 21 laws
Self-defense.
of self-defense. Now these are 21 laws.
And I see 3 a.m. there, so that means
Everything I do, I write the time on the pages of when I do it. So you see for yourself. It says September 13th, 2020, 3 a.m.
Yes, sir.
Okay? 5 a.m.
5 a.m. Yes, sir.
All right? All of it is here. 4:30 a.m.
I see it.
In different days.
Yes,
It's not the same that this is March. That's September. All the way through.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's when I do my work. That's when I tell you nobody puts more time into this system than me.
Got you.
I sleep 3 hours a day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I dream this. I think this all the time. How to make our system better? How do I help us leave the field
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
in what we do?
Yes, sir.
What's the next trend? What's the next thing? If it was like from CDs, from vinyl discs to CDs, the people who make vinyl discs thought they were good to go. That's the martial artists today. They still doing CDs. They still doing vinyl records thinking, we good.
Right.
Not seeing the CD
Right.
that was coming behind.
Absolutely.
And the CD guys are out there doing their CDs thinking, we good.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a guy, something come out there called download.
Mm-hmm.
They never seen it coming.
Streaming.
So now you're out of business.
Yes, sir. That's right.
In order for us to survive, what's the next thing coming?
Right. Right. Yes, sir.
So we ain't never going to be out of business.
Yes, sir.
Because that's the way my mind works.
Yes, sir.
I forward think.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Beautiful.
This is the 21 laws of self-defense. And it all starts with personal development.
Yes, sir.
All of it.
Yes, sir.
Why? Someone walked through their door because they're a badass? Someone walked through your door because they're tough? They're confident? They can kick behind? No.
They want that.
They walk through the door because they like those things.
Yes, sir.
So what are we doing? Developing them mentally, physically, spiritually.
Yes, sir.
Personal development. Hopefully we're going to make you a better person on the way out than you did on your way in. Professor V's famous line is, David, when they walk through the door, they're takers. Hopefully by the time they leave, they'll be givers.
Nice.
Now, he always used to say that to me.
Yes, sir.
So then after you got your 21 laws, we have different subject matters. You want to learn hand-to-hand combat skills, and all you want is hand-to-hand combat skills? I don't care what system you belong. Go into the university, go into the hand-to-hand combat system, take what you want, use it in your system. Who cares? I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. This is Professor V's spirit.
Yes, sir.
This is Remsen Street on a bigger scale.
Yes, sir.
Give it to everybody who wants it.
Right. Right.
If it can help you and help save a life, take it.
Right.
How many people are out here doing a version of Sanukis but don't really know Sanukis? How many people are out here doing Ju Jitsu claim, I do V, I do V, I do V, but you don't know V?
Right. Right. Gotcha.
We're talking about VSK, right?
Yes.
Let's be honest. How many people really have all three components down?
Exactly.
How many people got the S, got the V, and got the K down?
Gotcha.
But now, once again, when you put it together, if you want to pay homage and tribute, because some people say I'm doing that out of respect.
Yes. Respect.
Okay?
Yes.
A lot of guys out there, Professor V, I just told you, Professor V gave certificates to people that have the same rank as my guys. My guys are with me, man. Spent 40 years paying dues, helping me keep moving us along. These guys went to Professor V's house 5 times and have the same rank. And talk about we on the same level. How much money did you pay into the system to move it forward? What have you done? It ain't fair. It ain't right. I got people who wrote a book, put a family tree, and left us out completely. How do you leave us out when you're doing a family tree of Ju Jitsu and you put it in writing?
Wow.
How do you leave Sharon Shavilla out? How do you leave Sharon Howard out? How do you leave Sharon Scott out?
Wow.
Like we don't exist. How is that possible? with the kind of schools that we've had.
Yes, sir.
We have 200 legitimate black belts, a white belt, 2 black belts, all moving along the same pace, no favoritism, no jumping rank because we like you, or we want sex from you, or are you fine, or you can kick high, or you can represent the school. None of that crap.
Yes, sir.
Straight down the line.
Yes, sir.
Documented. So, how do you feel you deserve the same rank that my guys have? Who honored Professor B, supported Professor B, helped Professor B's school move forward.
Yes, sir.
And all you did was train with him a dozen times in his living room.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying that you don't deserve your paperwork. If you feel you deserve it, us. But don't deny my people.
Yes, sir.
Don't do that. It's not right.
Gotcha.
Don't act like we don't exist.
Right.
That's not right.
Gotcha.
It's wrong. It's wrong. And I'm not talking about me, I said my people.
I understand. I heard you.
You understand?
I was listening.
So this here, this university, you want knife stuff, it's in here. You want stick stuff, it's in here. You want, I have a segment in here called Training with Equipment. You ain't never seen this. I took Jiu-Jitsu and added equipment and training to it, so now we're doing Jiu-Jitsu with impact. So now you physically know that when you're getting to a competition, I'm not just doing flow drills back and forth, doing technique. Physical, banging, physical fitness. So now when someone jumps in your face, it's not if you think you can do it.
Right.
Just do what you've been doing.
Yes, sir.
State of readiness, state of response, state of control. You see, because if you understand combat correctly, I don't teach self-defense, I teach self-offense. You get in my face, you tell me you're going to hurt me, I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me.
Bush, teach. Yes, sir.
Because that's war.
That's right. Understood.
In war, you don't wait for the enemy to shoot you, hoping that you survive the gunshots and you shoot back.
Right, right.
All I need to know, do you plan to do me and my family harm?
Right.
It's on.
It's on.
The fight starts. The fight starts not when the first blow is thrown.
Yes, sir.
When you make me feel uncomfortable. Right?
No, I'm just saying the information and the history and the principles that you're sharing are valuable, and it is humbling to me as an instructor because Professor Scott can bear witness. He was at my house one day and I pulled out a book similar to this with the curriculum of syllabus, and I also have a book with peer forms and talk directly to me about that. And having on video with him sitting there as I do them, and he said, do it, move over that way, do this is what this means. You understand?
I understand.
But I don't have it all, but I have what I have.
You have what you
documented.
have.
And it's just, it's humbling. I just want to say this to you, man. I'm humble. I mean, I appreciate this information.
No, I appreciate it.
Nobody has ever gotten this before.
I appreciate it because you see, a lot of people, my guys know, we don't get me started with the stories. My guys, no, seriously, Sharon, I will tell you, don't get me started with the stories. Because
Okay.
I got stories like crazy.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
And I can tell you stuff. We could sit here for 3 days.
I'm sure.
Okay? And I won't stop talking.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
So go ahead.
But I want to finish 2 things about this thing.
This is beautiful.
The reason why I put this together, once again, the university, and I have a template where we're going to be teaching other instructors. If you want to preserve what you have,
You just taught them, sir. I'm telling
But
you.
no,
You're teaching them right now.
no, but I'm have something laid out step by step that if you want to preserve what you have, because why put 40 years into training and when you die, your system die with you,
Right. Got you.
and now your students don't have your information,
Yes.
and your students don't have your information.
Right. Got you. Yes, sir.
These guys helped me build this, and so I have a place in here for all of my shihan to be documented. Because I want the people when we're all dead and gone to know who were the people that moved Jiu-Jitsu forward.
Yes, sir.
Who were the first line people?
Yes, sir.
These are the guys.
Yes, sir.
So I make sure my people get documented.
Yes, sir.
Another thing that I'm doing that nobody else has even thought about doing, it's in Spanish now.
Woo.
have it translated
Wow.
where you can learn Jiu-Jitsu in Spanish. Subtitles
This is nice.
and language.
Yes, sir.
So now we are going into the Spanish community to give them proper self-defense training in their language.
Beautiful.
Shion Cirillo, guys, this book, the university, not only do you have it on video, but you have the book, frame by frame, technique by technique, in a book form. This has never been done. There's how many books, Shion?
So far, over 300 pictures, 3,000.
3,000 pictures. 4 or 5 books?
Maybe more.
Maybe more. Step by step, picture by picture, that you're going to be able to get a hold of in the university. This is for life, man.
Yes, sir.
For life.
Good.
So when we're getting gone, people ain't learning Joe Wu's version
Right.
of Jiu-Jitsu.
Right.
They're learning the way Professor V gave it to me.
Gotcha.
And Shion Cirillo, because this is what he did for a living. So he knows what he's doing.
Yes, sir.
Put together 3,000 photographs, 5 books, on top of 800 plus videos and counting. By the time we get through, I have it all on paper. We're going to have over 2,000 videos in this university. For you could go and you can literally teach on it. So let's say somebody claimed to be Jiu-Jitsu. All right, you want to honor Professor V? All I ask of you is one thing, man. Don't give them your version. Have the respect and the decency of going into the university. At least give them Professor V's version. You can teach it. But don't give them your version of Jiu-Jitsu. Give them Professor V's version. So anybody out there who's doing V, or you doing VSK, and you don't have your V down of the VSK, go into the university and learn it. You ain't got to deal with me. If you don't like me, you don't like the messenger, I don't care if you don't like the messenger. But the message and the information is there for you.
Yes, sir.
And you don't have to talk to me.
Yes, sir.
But also, if someone wants to go from white belt to black belt, it's like a college course.
Yes, sir.
In the university, we have a segment that you could go from white belt to black belt, and you will be documented. All of the certificates that you receive, your black belt, you have to come to the head. You could be in Dubai. We'll do everything in Zoom training. You look at us, we'll look at you as you step by step as you go along. It's going to take you the exact amount of time as it would take you if you were standing in front of me on this floor. So no favoritism. So in case you people say, oh, he's giving out certificates online like crap. No. The same amount of time it takes you years, the 3 years it takes you to do it here, is the 3 years it'll take you online.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And when it comes time for your ranking, you fly us to you, or if it's more convenient, you fly to us,
Yes, sir.
and we will get it done here. So we have it set up. We have it set up in such a way where Professor V's system will move on, and your certificates will be signed by not only me, but all the master Shihans. So ain't nobody going to say, are you legitimate?
Right.
You will be legitimate.
Right.
And if you, for those of you who think, well, I'm going to get the information and then I'm going to just cut it off and claim that I made a black belt. No, because you're only going to get access to every level as you go along.
Yes, sir. That's right.
So you will not have access to the whole thing.
Right.
White belt information, you just get white belt information, and so forth and so on until you move through the ranks
Yes, sir.
to keep everything legitimate, and everything will be documented. And if you leave as a red belt, it will be documented you got up to red belt.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And nothing more. All our belts are numbered, and all our belts are in-house here. All black belts are given at the headquarters.
Okay. Let me ask you this.
And I never told them how to get a hold of us.
Yes.
But the website, you can go to VAJ Ju Jitsu. That's the website. And the reason why we do it that way, and you ask, well, why it's not V on his Jitsu, it's V on his Ju Jitsu. Why? Because 2 reasons. Every time I got phone calls and I had people ask, what's your email? I had to spell out V arnis just so people can't get it. But you could remember a V, a A, and a J,
Yes, sir.
and the word Ju Jitsu because everybody knows because of the Gracies, Ju Jitsu.
Yes, sir. Teach.
And now to separate myself from the other people who claim, oh, I'm doing V Jitsu. You see the shirt? You took a picture of, this is our new patch. It says VEE. So make no mistake, it's V, not vag,
Right.
V,
Teach. I like that. Yes, sir.
AJ, Ju Jitsu.
Yes, sir.
Not vag, Ju Jitsu. So the clarity is there. So when we go all over the world, like I said, I've been in 7 countries working with all different type of military and law enforcement agencies. Okay? It is, some people overseas go, oh, you're the vag guy.
Right,
No,
right,
we're not the
right.
vag guy. We're the VAJ.
When did you
Just-
put VEEAJ?
About a year ago, right before COVID.
That's beautiful.
Right before COVID. So once again, people know it's V.
Yes, sir.
It's V.
Yes, sir.
I don't push David James. I don't care about pushing David James.
Right.
Okay? People know, like you said, Master V gave me the opportunity to move the system forward.
You have.
If I move the system forward, people will know who I am.
And
I don't need to push me.
after this
I need to push the
conversation,
system forward.
they know who you are because I had no idea. And I've talked to you, but I talked to you here, but you took it down here. Everybody knows you because what you did with what Professor V gave you is brilliant. Because I'm humble, and I know those who are going to listen to this interview are going to be humble because sometimes you think you know, but you really don't. Sometimes you think you have something, but you really don't. But today, what you shared, I know it has humbled a lot of instructors because documentation, like I said, Professor V is known as a scholar. He documented things. You have done that and you took it to another level, and it's beautiful.
Here it is, all of it
It's
right here.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's all right here. I mean, this looks like, look through it yourself, sir.
I don't have to look through it. I can just feel it.
Okay? Is that not his signature? Is
That's
that not
his
his?
V Jitsu tape, and I'm not gonna say no more.
Okay. You see how watercolor it is?
Yes.
Right? This
I'm
was
just
from the
gonna- I'm just
1950s.
going to show this,
It's from the 1950s.
and that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to. Professor V, in my humble opinion, definitely picked the right person to carry on his system.
Good.
Bruce,
appreciate
no,
you.
thank you.
Listen,
No,
I appreciate you.
Master James, Professor, I really thank you because I don't talk to a lot of people. That's one thing about me. I don't go out and do a lot of seminars. No, I don't do tournaments at all.
Yes, sir.
Because my mindset is teach people how to stop someone from hurting them. I ain't got time for a trophy.
Yes, sir.
If you look around my dojo, I got very few trophies on the wall or plaques.
Right.
Because for me, the only thing I want you to understand, me having 100 trophies and 100 plaques on the wall don't mean a damn thing to you. What can I do for you?
Right, right.
Because too many people go, oh, you know, I train with such and such, I train with such and such. And I always say to them, I hope when you get in your ass kicked that he's with you. Because you better get some skills for you.
Yes, sir. Teach. That's right.
For you. So don't tell me about who your instructor is.
Right.
You're only as good as your last practice.
Yes, sir. Right.
Because that half a second, Miles Davis once said something. Nothing to do with martial arts, but everything to do with martial arts. Miles Davis said, when I don't practice for a week, I know it.
Right.
When I don't practice for 2 weeks, my band knows it.
Mm.
When I don't practice for a month, my audience knows it.
Got you. Got you.
So you got to keep practicing.
Gotta keep practicing.
And that's Miles Davis, the best of the best.
Yes, sir.
You always got to stay humble and practice.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I do.
Yes, sir.
And practice means cleaning the toilet, mopping the floors, because that's part of the training.
Yes, sir.
And I still do it more than any one of these guys. Am I lying?
I heard he said us, son.
Please better. What can I tell you?
Yes,
I'm
Yes,
still
sir.
doing more than any one of these guys. You
And
understand?
I
And-
want to thank you. I want to thank Shion Howard, Shion Cirillo, for just opening the doors for me to come in and share this information.
Well, you're always welcome, man. Every time you want to come down,
Hey.
you want to bring your people down, you want to rock and roll. I got an open door policy, man.
Yes, sir. Yes,
You know, but one of the things that I'm most happy about this interview is that these guys get their respect.
Yes, sir.
These guys get their respect.
Absolutely.
That people don't ever do, and I ain't gonna name names, but you know who you are. You wrote a book, It's Just So Family Tree, and you left those guys out. And you know those guys. That's wrong. That's wrong.
Well, I have a book at home. It's pretty thick. It's called Filipino Martial Arts. And they got all the Filipino masters in there. Then they got a section for Professor V. Your name is in there.
Oh.
That's all I know. Well, as they say in the street, if you don't know, now you know. Grandmaster Professor David James. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And anything I can do, anything I can help you
Yes,
with,
sir.
more than
You've
welcome.
given me so much. I can't even ask you for anything else.
No, you know,
I'm
we're here.
good for a long time.
We're here. We're here. We got a lot.
Beautiful. I just figured out a way to truly end this. Can we have your Shions come stand?
Absolutely.
So everybody can know who is with you,
Cheryl Scott.
who's teaching VAJ.
Cheryl Scott, if you don't mind, take that face cover off so they can see your face.
So I'll just have everybody come here and introduce yourself
Yeah.
so everybody can know who you are.
Cheryl Scott.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Master Shion Cirillo Smith. I've been with the system for over 35 years. And I'm still hanging in there. Ain't got no place to go. So, Ju Jitsu for life.
So, Shion Ron Howard. I guess, did I start the system? No. no. But yeah, I've been in the system, 40 years now?
40 years.
40 years. 40 years. 40 years and still going. And, this is it. This is home.
Yes,
This
sir.
is where I'm going to be.
Yes, sir. And I want to introduce this young man right here. This is my friend. He keeps it straight.
Sit.
And when I get crazy and Lou hyped and ready to kill everybody, Shion Scott calms me down and tells me to remember that you gotta represent the family, keep the family unified together, and just wait it out. They can be wrong and strong, but not for long. Shion Scott.
I'm Shion Scott. I've been in arnis Jitsu, the system,
No. Sit.
1976. And it's been a long journey. And it seems like it was a couple of months ago. That's how it feels. But, the years start to fly. But really trying to keep the system together, it takes a village. And so it's just not one individual, it's the collective, and that's how you spread the gospel. So I'm just one of the people to just, spread the gospel. That's it.
And of course, Professor James Sims Muhammad, Salukashu Ju Jitsu. This is the family of Ju Jitsu. This is where you need to come. You heard what Professor said. You know about the university. If you want to teach V, if you want to teach whatever you teach, and you want to teach it right, this is the place to be, right here. Thank you for listening.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
So we'll make it perfectly clear. Even though our title is Master Shion, they are my teachers. They've been here before me. I know my place. And if it wasn't for them teaching me, so I always give them respect and they know it. They are my teachers.
But I want to say one thing towards that, which is very important. Okay, and at our last promotion, and this goes back to what you were talking about before when you said people are using all kinds of titles, right? Understand this clearly. Every one of these guys that you see with me, and I'm going to say this so it's documented, every one of these guys that are with me should be the same exact rank as me because we all put our sweat on the mat for the same amount of years, man. The only difference is there can only be like one master or one professor or one Shia. But you want to know something? That needs to change, man. Because that's why martial arts has the problems that it had. Because people like to elevate themselves and feel like they're higher than the guys under them. That's a bunch of crap. If you got people with you, man, who've been with you for 10 and 20 and 20 and 30 years, they're on the same level you are. Same level you are. The only difference is somebody's got to run. Somebody got to be what they call a CEO. Somebody is the chief CEO and his team operating officer and so on and so forth. But that's it. We're all on the same level. Just one person is running who's identified as the boss or the leader of the system. That's why my belt doesn't say leader or grand master. It says chief instructor. Period. That's it. But we're all on the same level.
So, one thing I want to touch on, and then we out of here. Us, in Sanukas, when we bow, we stand at our feet at a 45-degree angle on the square, and we bow this way, which is similar to a prayer, or receiving something,
Yes, sir.
or bowing,
Yes, sir.
showing grace. Can somebody explain the V arnis Ju Jitsu bow the way Professor V taught?
Yes, we was extending. I am saying. Well, you would have your right foot forward, and you would have a V that can be seen from the front, and the V can also be seen from the side. So you'd have one hand in front of the other. So this is the greeting. So the V can be seen from side to side or front to back. And we would do the bow. That's Professor V's, bowing. So basically, it's not this, it's not deuces, it's not, people doing this kind of stuff.
Right.
It's a V that can be seen from the front and a V that can be seen from the side.
Like I said, if you didn't know, now you know. So I want to thank you all for listening. I want to thank you, Professor David James. I want to thank the Shians. I want to thank those who have been following my interviews. I appreciate you. You got the juice, you got the knowledge, you got the principles, you got the history, and it was shared from the heart of Grandmaster David James. Thank you again.
Thank you.